Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Today, I am thrilled to introduce Sarah Dawkins, a highly sought after holistic health and healing coach, dynamic keynote speaker, and the author of Heal Yourself. With over 20 years of medical experience as a former registered nurse, Sarah offers a unique integrative approach to health and wellness. She's also a multi award winning entrepreneur and the host of the popular podcast Heal Yourself with Sarah Dawkins. Sarah's expertise ranges from self healing, chronic health conditions to guiding clients in uncovering and addressing the root causes of their symptoms, empowering them to achieve vibrant, lasting health and transformative wellness. Such a beautiful bio.
Thank you.
Oh, I love what you do. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing and for your book, your course, your podcast, everything, because the message is important that, yes, we can heal ourselves.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I feel so called to do it as well after awakening to the fact that we're all healers. The
Yes.
first 41 years of my life, I was in the medical model, so I always went to the doctor. But when somebody challenged me and I started researching, like, wow, is this really possible? I'm reading about all these people that have healed themselves. Can I do it too? Is it really possible for me? And that's how I started my journey, just over 20 years ago. And it's just, boy, what a journey. And every day's a school day. There's so much to it, but it's so fascinating as well. And I feel compelled to not only share my journey, but share other people's through my podcast that we can heal ourselves. Look, all these people have healed themselves, and what's possible for us is possible for you. And that is my overarching message to everybody, is that we're all healers. We can all heal ourselves. We've got the power within us. We just have to believe it.
Yes, there's always a saying that I always loved, saying if you want to believe in at least something, at least believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. And the healing journey for me, I mean, it's never linear, trust me. It's still
No.
continuous also. It doesn't end. But I remember in my early sobriety, I didn't think it was possible because I was on medications and I was also, I mean, I was still drinking even though I was trying to get sober and nothing worked. And it wasn't until I finally then discovered my mindset coach at the time who helped me kind of rewire my brain and help me reprogram myself, reset myself. And then I started loving myself. And then when I started loving myself, I started healing myself. And then just magic started happening. And that's why I'm just so grateful for, I mean, for everyone who is on a healing journey. And so that way they can actually discover their own magic within and just emulate it out in the world.
Absolutely. And I used alcohol as a crutch when I was in a dark, deep, dark place. But I didn't realize at the time, I didn't think I had a problem because I only ever drank before dinner, with dinner, and after dinner, like an aperitif, few glasses of wine with dinner, and then a liqueur after. So I'm like, I haven't got a problem. I'm just within this short, like maybe 4 hour time period. But I was drinking 70 units a week. That's the equivalent of like 70 shots or 70 half pints. And I'm like, and the doctor worked that out for me. I'm like, oh my God, I've got a problem. But it took somebody else to tell me to raise that awareness in
Yeah.
me, because I just thought it was social drinking. But it was, I knew I was doing it, but I think I was denying that I was doing it because it numbed the pain. We
Mhm.
use alcohol or any addictions, drugs, scrolling, sex, any addictions. We use it to numb pain because we don't want to feel what we're going through.
Yeah, we don't want to feel, and especially because I was in a lot of physical pain back then, and I had a lot of anxiety. And here I was thinking, oh, drinking would be okay for my anxiety. But I wanted to talk about your journey from chronic illness and despair to vibrant health. I mean, it's just so inspiring to see the transformation in people. It's like one of my, I get goosebumps and chills and giddy when I hear these transformative stories. Can you go ahead and share what that transformation looked like for you in this process?
Yeah, so I touched on it briefly earlier about looking at being challenged, first of all, by a nurse colleague. And my first thoughts were, she's a nurse. Why is she challenging my use of pills at home? You know, we can buy them over the counter. We, you know, everybody takes them in air quotes. And that was my core belief, that when you're sick, you need a pill and a doctor and a prescription and a diagnosis, and then you get better. So that kick-started me researching. And what I found, first of all, because I was still in that medical model framework, if you like, so I was only thinking about the physical things like better nutrition, better hydration, a little bit more exercise, de-stress, and a good night's sleep. That's where I started. So first of all, I started doing a bit more walking, and I stopped eating gluten and dairy because they're both known to cause inflammation. And just tweaking the small changes, although 20 years ago there wasn't the gluten-free stuff there is now, so there was a challenge, but just that small change, I healed psoriasis, eczema, and acid reflux within about 1 month. So now I'm starting to say, look, not only are the people online that I'm reading and in books that I'm reading are healing themselves, I've now seen tangible results from something I never knew I could do, because I was never raised like that. I was always raised, you need a pill or a cream or a doctor or an intervention or something. So I started my own healing journey with those three things. And then I kept researching and reading and reading and reading. The more I read, the more shocked I was as to, why did I not know this? Why were we not taught this in nursing school? Why did my parents not know this? How come this information's out in the world and I don't know this? So it was mind blowing, really, because the information's out there. It just didn't land in my lap until I was 41. But I started making all those changes. And then I started, when I'd spiraled into a dark depression, it was 2009. I spiraled into depression, but by that time I'd healed chronic pain, candida, bulimia, and PTSD. But I spiraled into this dark depression. And so not only was I depressed, I had suicidal thoughts. My thyroid stopped working. I burned out my adrenal glands because of the stress as well. And so I was in a pretty poor state. And when you're in that depressed state, I don't know if people know that your frontal brain, which is your logical, rational thinking brain, shuts down. So it's like trying to think and process is like trying to wade through mud. So it took me a while to understand what was going on. And I knew I'd retreated. I'd literally closed the outside world off, built several brick walls around me, to the point my family kept trying to reach in and get to me. But I was just oblivious. You know, I just, a bit like a zombie, but I didn't want to take pharmaceuticals because I'd done that previously. And that really did make me feel zombie-like. I had no emotions. So I'm like, I don't want to do that again. But I didn't know what I would do, how I would heal. I had no idea. I just knew I could, but I didn't know what that would look like. And because we had dogs, I had to go out every day and walk the dogs twice a day. And that was pivotal in my healing. And a friend used to pick me up on a Wednesday, and we would do 2 1-hour classes back to back in the gym. So the dog walking and the exercise with my friend really did help me, because I had to go outside. I had to kind of interact with the outside world. And it wasn't until maybe a year later when I started to think a bit more clearly and looked back, and I saw that there were markers that I was less and less in that dark hole, that I was finally coming out of it. And I remember one day out walking with the dogs, I looked out, you know, instead of being inside me. I remember looking out. I'm like, oh, there's like a whole world around me, you know, and I must have pulled some of those walls down. And I realized looking back, I was practicing gratitude and being mindful in that moment. I was totally absorbed in the walking the dog through the nature, through the trees. There was buds on the trees. There was spring flowers on the ground, the little stream alongside the path. I could hear it bubbling. I could hear children laughing. And I suddenly started to realize there's a world outside that I've been missing because I was in that deep, dark place. So I started practicing more gratitude and being more mindful. And then I went on to do a bit of meditation. Well, I'd never meditated before. I didn't know what it was like. I had this vision. I have to sit on the floor, cross-legged, go, and inside me, this voice is going, who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing? You're just nobody. You're not worth it. And it was awful. So I found online meditations, guided meditations. And initially it was just like 5 minutes just to find some peace inside me. And as I got better at sitting for 5 minutes, just listening and going on that journey in my mind, I was able to do longer and longer meditations. And then I started looking at, what do I want my life to look like? Because I've just been through hell and I'm slowly walking out of it now. And I don't want to go back. So what is in front of me? So I started doing some vision work, imagination. What do I want my life to look like? How do I want it to look? And I'm like, well, my husband said, why don't you set up a business, be an entrepreneur? I'm like, never done that. But, got there doing the guided meditations. I'm not just an entrepreneur. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur. I don't want to be like just any old body. Let me be somebody. And that was like, you could see the way my mind was working. I've been there, horrible, don't want to be there anymore. I'm going to not just walk in a straight line, I'm going to walk uphill and do something meaningful. So I set up my first business and realized that actually the depression was my body telling me that I was no longer happy in my job as a nurse, because I'd done my own healing and I saw nursing. I wanted to care for people and help vulnerable people, but I was keeping them stuck in the medical model. And after healing myself, I thought, that's not what I want to do. That's not how I want to help people. I want to help people to help themselves. And they're never going to do that in the medical model. They're going to stay stuck in it. So I was having that real battle going on. So I stepped out of the hospital, but I was Sarah the nurse. And I tied myself to being a nurse. And if I'm not a nurse, who am I? So that authenticity issue was huge. And I really struggled with it, to the point I put it on a back burner and stepped into entrepreneurship. But as a nurse, I still needed my nurse registration. But I did some DNA work and some medical legal work and some training. So I wasn't actually treating people in a hospital. I was working with other people outside. I wasn't handing out drugs and telling people how to live in the medical model. So it was a sidestep, and it helped. And I won awards as an entrepreneur in that role. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're still Sarah the nurse. You still got to sign that register saying you're abiding by all the standards and rules of nursing. And this authenticity battle was raging inside me. And I finally realized I'm not a nurse. I need to help people to help themselves. And I trained as a coach to be able to do that, and surrendered my nursing license virtually 20 years to the day that I got it. But it took me 2 years to do that, because there was that whole authenticity. Who am I? Even if I'm a coach, I only ever wanted to be a nurse. So I have to kind of break that dream to open up another dream of being able to help people to help themselves. And actually, looking back, there's not a day goes by where I don't regret giving that registration back, because now my clients are helping themselves on their own journey. I'm just helping them to tap into who they are, that they find the healer within, and radically change their lives like I changed mine. And I'm really grateful for what I've been through, as awful as it was, because without going through all of that, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I wouldn't be who I am now. So I have so much gratitude for what I've been through.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. What a journey, though, right? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
My sister's a nurse and she's been practicing for so many years. I don't know, maybe 20 years now. And I mean, she's always has stress there. And maybe she should start doing what you're doing because she needs to get out of that environment. I always feel like these hospitals are a disease management system. It's not a
Yes.
healthcare
No.
system at all. And they just
No.
want you to be ill so that way you can come back, come back. Here's your
Yes.
medication prescription next,
Yes.
next. And it's not right. Oh,
No.
that's why I got off
It,
all of my medications.
yeah. Yeah. It's sick care, really.
Sick.
And a patient cured is a patient lost or a customer lost.
Right, exactly. And that's what they
Yeah.
don't want because then they're not
No.
going to make any money. And once everyone understands that, yes, you can heal yourself, then there goes the healthcare. Well, not even the healthcare. I
Yeah.
won't call it healthcare business. The health or the disease management system is going to go down.
Yeah. Yeah, but it starts with that belief inside you that you can heal, because a lot of people are like, well, the doctors told me I can't heal. I've got to learn to live with it.
Yeah.
Well, I've healed 3 autoimmunes.
Yeah.
If I can heal it, and all the people in my book can heal, like ALS, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune cancer, Lyme, endometriosis, allergies, asthma, stroke, sensitivities, if we can heal all of that, so can you. We're nothing special. Well, no, I'm always very special,
Yeah.
but really we're not that special, it's within us, it's within everybody. We've all got the power if we believe we can do it.
Right. Now, when I was a little girl, I was molested from the ages of 6 to 12 years old. And I didn't tell anybody at all. I kept everything inside, which then caused a lot of sickness in my stomach. And I had a nervous stomach. And my mom took me to the children's hospital. And they just said, "Oh, you have IBS, which is the irritable bowel syndrome." Well, no one ever said, what is the root cause of the irritable bowel syndrome? And so we never discussed it. I just had IBS until I discovered no, there's some underlying trauma going on that I needed healing. Now, how do you actually go ahead and approach addressing the root causes of symptoms rather than just managing them?
And that's how I work. I have a compassionate, empathic conversation with clients, and I just ask them, "Tell me about your life."
Yeah.
And everything you tell me is confidential. And I just allow them to tell me their story. And for a lot of people, just being seen and heard and validated is healing in itself, because they've never had that. Um, and as they're talking to me, quite often there'll be something they'll say, like a little red flag will go off in my mind. I'm like, I'll come back to that. But I'll just allow them to continue their story. And then I'll ask for more information around what happened. You said this. Can you shine a bit more light on it? Who was there? What happened? Who was involved? What was said? How did you hold that as a child? How did that make you feel? Because I was molested too as a child, and I didn't tell anybody until I was 21. And then my family like, well, how did that happen? Well, doesn't matter then. And we never spoke about it again. Um, but it's about not what happened to us, it's about how we hold on to that. So, like for us, trauma, capital T, but for other people, it could be trauma, little t, as in they were made fun of, or they were held back, or something happened to them. But it's how we hold on to what happened to us, because we're holding it through the eyes of the child that we were. And even though we're an adult now, that hurt, traumatized child is still inside of us, holding that trauma through the eyes of the child. So I'd get them to look at it through the eyes of the adult as an observer. So they're not stepping back into it, they're observing what happened. And just get them to shine a bit more light onto it. And rather than being detail in that what happened, let's look at what else was going on and what happened to those people who hurt you, because we all know hurt people, and healed people heal people. So it's about understanding through the eyes of compassion what happened, and helping them to see that, there was something going on in the person who hurt them. They went through something. And quite often when I'll say, what was your parents' life like? What was your grandparents' life? Oh my God, it was awful. Yeah. And because it was awful, they maybe didn't have the skills, the knowledge. They obviously didn't want to hurt you, but at the same time, they didn't know what they were doing and how you would hold on to that. I was called the black sheep of the family when I was 11. And I really held on to that. And that propelled me through school, through university, through college, for qualification after qualification after qualification after qualification to prove my worth until I healed that. So those words, black sheep of the family, only 4 or 5 words, but my God, did they really cause me angst throughout my adult life. So it's, we have to look at what we're holding on to and how we're holding on to it, because it is through the eyes of that child. And as I say, it's about people need to be seen, heard, and validated. Their feelings are valid, because a lot of people have been told as children, oh, that doesn't matter, stop complaining, stop crying, don't be ridiculous, that's not a problem. And they're just totally unvalidated. So I help them to validate their feelings, which helps them to see that it's not that their lack of self-worth hasn't come from themselves. It's an opinion they've formed based on what they grew up around.
Yes, you and I have a lot of similarities. I didn't share my molestation until I was about 22 years old, 22 or
Right.
23 years old. I kept everything inside. And I was also called the black sheep of the family. I am the baby of the family. And everyone else is a lot older than me. I have a brother who is 11 years older than me. A sister is 10 years older than me. And then another brother is 7 years older than me. And then it's me. So I am the black sheep. And I'm actually okay with that, because I see where
Yes.
I was and where I'm at now. And I needed like you said, I needed to experience whatever I experienced back then in order for
Yeah.
me to be where I am now. And yes, you're right. Heal, heal people, heal people. That's
Yes.
absolutely correct.
And we who get tarnished, if you like, with the title black sheep of the family, we tend to be the one that heals all our ancestral wounds. We come into this world to particularly heal all of that behind us. And as we heal forwards as well through our lineage, so our children, our grandchildren, but we also heal sidewards through people close to us, maybe outside the family, close friends, maybe aunts, uncles. But as we heal, we help all those around us to heal too.
Yes. Now let's shift and talk about your book, Heal Yourself. And it actually features your journey as well as stories of 74 others. Can you go
Yes,
ahead and share what inspired you to write your book?
thank you. Um, as I started to heal that dark depression and started to feel better, and I'd gone through all that other healing as well. I'm like, my God, I need to tell the world. I can't just be the only one having this revelation. There must be others somewhere. So I started writing about my own story to help people who were like me and didn't know that it was possible. And I only wrote about what I had and how I healed and what I did. Because I had I mean, a friend told me, she would call her a gifted friend, told me I'd write a book before I even thought about writing a book. I'm like, I'll never write a book. Who am I to write a book? But anyway, as I came out of that depression, I'm like, I need to help people to understand they can heal themselves too, like I have, because I am special, but I'm not very special. And so I wrote about my own story, and it was about 10,000 words. And I'm like, so now what? And I didn't know what the answer to that was. So I shut my computer for 5 years and let it sit and stew for 5 years. And then one day I just woke up. I'm like, right, so I need more people now. It's got to be about their stories as well, because I can't be the only one that's doing this. And I knew I wasn't, because I'd read people online. So I reached out on social media. People came forwards. And I then went looking online for like diseases that I hadn't got covered. And I started emailing people through their websites. Oh, you've healed this, and I'm writing this book, and I want to help people to see it's possible. Would you like to share your healing? So I got 74 people coming back sharing. Well, I got a lot more actually, but I had to put a deadline in it. In the end, I had to put a deadline in, and some of the people couldn't quite hit that deadline, but I had to do it, because I thought at the same time, a competition came up with Hay House publishers to win a potential publishing deal with them. So I'm like, this is it. I've always dreamed of publishing with Hay House. So I had a deadline because it had to be submitted to Hay House. And so up to that deadline, I got 74 people writing their healing journeys. And anyway, I didn't win any of the prizes through Hay House. So me being me thought, well, that's a message from the universe that I can't wait the 18 months that Hay House say it's going to take to publish the book. I just need to get it published now. So I looked around at publishing, hybrid publishing and self-publishing, and I thought, no, it's got to be self-published to get it out quicker. And literally published it the next day with the help of my husband on Amazon. He did all the geek work. I just like worked with him to design the front cover and published it.
Well, congratulations. I love books. I love books. I'm going to definitely have to check out your book. But if
Thank
you
you.
don't mind sharing, what was the most surprising or even the transformative story that you've actually shared in your own book?
One story really stands out to me because it epitomizes where we're at now with the medical model. And it was a guy with multiple sclerosis. He was wheelchair bound. He was a very slim man. And his brother took him for a checkup at the doctor's. And they both watched the doctor go on Google and look something up. And they went, well, if he can do that, so can we. So he went home and started doing some research and started going to the gym. You know, had to sit on a static bike at first and do whatever he could just to pedal it. And he got better and better and bigger. Started pumping iron, became a bodybuilder. Like, you radically changed his form. Went for another MRI of his brain to look at the lesion, and it had totally gone. He had totally cured MS. Just he changed his diet and he did some exercise. But it stands out so much because it's like, well, if the doctor's looking up on Google what to do, anybody can do that.
Right. Like all of the plants and the vegetables, the fruits that are being produced from these beautiful plants, they're all medicine. Everything here is already here for us. Everything is medicine, and we don't need, I mean, don't get me wrong. When I fell and hit my knee and it bust open, I needed that morphine, okay, for that pain. So, yes,
Yeah.
I understand that. But just your overall healing throughout your years, medication is not the answer, in my opinion.
No, it's
Oh,
not. But as you say, it's got a place in trauma,
intro.
accidents, emergencies. It's absolutely got a place. And my dad wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for trauma medicine.
Mhm.
But for everything else, we get symptoms. And we tend to quash those symptoms. We silence them with pharmaceuticals, like a bit of an upset stomach, the start of IBS, or a bit of a headache, the start of a migraine, and the heart palpitations, this anxiety. There's so many symptoms that our body produces, and it's going, hey, look at me, I need some attention. And we take pills to shush them. And actually, we need to not take the pills. We need to say, okay, what is this symptom trying to tell me? What is the message my body is trying to convey? And that's what root cause healing is to understand the message behind all the symptoms that we get. So rather than take a pill to stop the symptoms, let's look at what the message is and then heal what it's trying to tell us.
Yes, and I notice when I'm out in nature walking, oh, I feel so much better. Whatever experience I'm experiencing, I mean, there's good and bad, but it's pretty much, as long as I think of it as an experience, it's just what it is, right?
Yeah.
And because I'm going through that emotion, and I'm like, okay, well, this energy needs to be moved out. I don't want to feel this way. And I
Yeah.
noticed that when I take my walks out in nature, like my husband and I think it was just last Saturday, we walked and hiked actually up a mountain, and just the peace and the it's like serenity, everything was just so calm. I really focused on the animals there. There was cows. I was like, oh, they're so beautiful. There's these little
Yeah.
squirrels running around, the birds. I was like, this is what I need, and it's so healing. It's there for us. It's like Mother Nature is nurturing us.
It is. And for me, it's medicine for my soul. I take my dog out twice a day walking. So we're out for nearly 2 hours a day, every day. And it just really is nourishing.
Yes, and I noticed you were talking about meditation earlier. Whenever I'm going through something, I'll tell my family, okay, I'm going to go heal myself. And I will go upstairs in my room and just have silence and just be still. And like you, I used to think meditation was all about the cross leg and lotus position, doing the alms. No, it's just really about being mindful, being still. And for me, I love the breathing exercises. That also helps with moving out the energy there. It's more somatic therapy that I truly notice a difference in my body when I do it. So, you can heal yourself.
Yes, you can. Yes. But you
Yes.
have to believe. It all comes down to belief because, a lot of people are so, like I was, so tied into the doctor. Well, the doctor said it's for life, therefore I can't heal. Who are you to tell me if the doctor's telling me it's for life? Well, if you can just like hold what the doctor says, but don't take it as read, and maybe look at what you can do for yourself whilst holding this, and just tweak some little things and see what happens.
Yes, I love that. Now, can you go ahead and tell us about your course, Heal Yourself at Home? And who is it designed for?
So, I've actually taken my course down, but what I'm doing is I'm amalgamating it into a coaching package.
Ah, nice.
So rather than it being a standalone course online, it covers the four pillars of healing: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And we have to cover all four pillars to stay healthy, but also to heal ourselves. So it's about understanding the different nuances of what health is and what healing takes. Because we can do the physical, which is where I started, you tweak your diet and get a bit more exercise. But the mental aspects of it, like the mindfulness and the gratitude, and then the meditation, and then the emotional side is about healing your past, coming to terms with what happened. Forgiveness is great if I can get clients there. And in the main, most of them can get to that position. But it's not necessary. It's about coming to peace or being at peace within yourself, acknowledging what's happened. We can't do anything to change it, but we can change the way we look back at it. And if we can come to peace within ourselves, that's emotional healing. And the spiritual healing is just coming back into ourselves to listen to that little voice inside of us. Some people call it God, other people call it inner wisdom, higher self, the angels, the universe. The name isn't important. The fact that we need to come back into ourselves and listen to that little voice. And all of that together forms one of my coaching packages to help people to understand how they can literally heal themselves at home, in air quotes, because they're doing the work at the end of the day. They're not taking a pill. They're not going out and having treatments, although that is possible. There are so many different alternative practice treatments, and they're all very valid. But my point is, we can heal ourselves by ourselves, if we believe we can.
Belief is the key word for sure.
Massively, yes.
Yes. And where can our listeners go ahead and connect with you, get your book, just to be guided by you?
Thank you. If you go to my website, www.sarahdawkins.com, that's SARAHDAWKINS.com, everything's on there.
Beautiful. And I will also have that in the show notes for our listeners. But last question, for someone just beginning their healing journey, what are three simple steps they can go ahead and take today?
I would say do something that you feel able to do as those three steps. And that whatever you feel that is, if you feel it's a walk in nature today, if you feel it's swapping out some desserts or sweets for a piece of fruit, if you feel it's sitting down and taking 5 minutes for yourself and just being quiet in the moment, maybe with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, but being mindful with it. It doesn't matter what you choose as long as you put yourself into it, and know that you can do it for a short time. So it's about doing the smallest thing that you feel you're able to do. Because if you look at the big picture, it can be like so overwhelming. There's so much that is out there. But just do whatever you feel you can do at that time. And just don't say you've got to do it for an hour or 2 hours, or you've got to do this 3 times a week. Just do that one thing for as long as you feel able to give it time. Do not put pressure on yourself. It's about it's about positive choices. We're not denying ourselves anything. Like people say, I'm going on a diet, which means I can't eat any of that. So it's denial. We're not doing that. We're making positive lifestyle choices. So if we think about reframing it into, I'm doing this for the better of my health, to give me longevity over the rest of my lifetime, and just do what you can when you can.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for being on my show today. You brought so much insight and wisdom, and I just know our audience is going to love this episode. So thank you so much.
Thank you too, Gina.